What's up guys, Nathan here. Today, I'm helping Ichigo by doing a voiceover for his latest build, Lahkesis, the Queen of Chaos. The build is tanky, clears screens in just a couple of button presses, and deals an extremely high amount of damage for an essence drain character. It's hardcore viable, safe for mapping and bossing, and is a strong candidate for pushing to level 100. All in all, this build aims to be the most balanced and all-content friendly version of Essence Drain and should be a joy to play for new and experienced players alike. To understand what makes this build tick, you need to be familiar with a few key mechanics. The first and most important one is your main skill loop, Essence Drain and Contagion. Essence Drain is a strong damage over time spell that applies itself to any enemy hit by its projectile. To clear maps with this otherwise cumbersome ability, we use Contagion, which spreads your Essence Drain dot to nearby enemies when your primary target dies. When it comes to single target, we use a different set of supports. Since Contagion doesn't do very much damage on its own, we instead use spell totems that apply Blight and Vol Blight. In the past, it's also been beneficial to hinder enemies with a Wither totem, but the new Ascendancy Occultist node, Withering Presence, allows us to passively apply Wither just by standing nearby. Wither slows enemy movement speed by 36% and also applies a stacking 6% increased chaos damage taken debuff. Put all of these numbers together and you've got a recipe for some respectable single target DPS. Defensively, the Queen of Chaos is no slouch either. Essence Drain provides life regeneration equal to 0.5% of the damage it deals, and when you combine this with the Zealot's Oath Keystone, this build reaches impressive levels of energy shield regen. Even more impressive is the build's Tri-Curse utility. Enfeeble and Temporal Chains auras with 80% increased curse effectiveness means that most enemies can barely touch you, and a Witchfire Brew Flask provides on-demand smoke cloud and increased damage over time effects. Lastly, the Profane Bloom Ascendancy node ensures your curses can be applied to all enemies, and Aspect of the Spider provides an additional defensive layer and damage multiplier to make use of the rest of your mana. Your first Ascendancy choice should be Profane Bloom. This will go a long ways towards speeding up the leveling process and is a strong choice as long as you are running at least one curse aura. Your second Ascendancy point should be Malediction. Malediction is one of the strongest Ascendancy points in the game because it provides a ton of curse effectiveness, a couple of defensive and offensive multipliers, and an entire extra curse. Your third point is Void Beacon. This node is fairly underwhelming on its own, but is required to get to the next one. Lastly, you get to pick up Withering Presence. This Ascendancy node is brand new to update 3.5 and provides a fantastic set of bonuses. You get 60% chaos resistance, which is generally pretty difficult to come by, 20% to your chaos damage over time multiplier, and the passive withering effect discussed earlier in the video. If you want to play with Chaos Inoculation rather than Pain Attunement, which is admittedly more budget friendly, you'll want to spend your last two Ascendancy points on Wicked Ward and Vile Bastion instead. This is because Chaos Inoculation heavily benefits from all the extra energy shield, and the chaos resistance you get from Withering Presence would completely go to waste. In this section of the guide, you can follow along with the optimal leveling path for this build. However, there are two important considerations that need to be made. Don't level Pain Attunement or Arcane Vision until you're ready to equip Chevron's Wrappings and go low life. And don't level Zealot's Oath until you've reached a point where you are relying more on energy shield than life to survive encounters. Next up, let's take a look at the recommended gem setups for this build. Your first and most important setup is Essence Drain, Controlled Destruction, Efficacy, Swift Affliction, Empower, and Void Manipulation. If you're using a staff with socketed gem modifiers, this needs to be socketed in it. It's important to note that because Essence Drain scales so hard off levels, it is highly beneficial to target a level 21 Essence Drain and a level 4 Empower as soon as possible. Your next setup is a level 1 cast when damage taken, a level 1 Immortal Call, and a high level Flame Dash and Contagion. To make sure your Immortal Call triggers often, and to prevent the other spells from triggering in this setup, it's crucial for these gems to be at the recommended levels. Next, to make sure we're always at low life, we use Blood Magic, Vol Discipline, Clarity, and Arctic Armor. In his case, Ichigo is running a level 9 Clarity, but you may choose to keep yours at a slightly higher or lower level depending on exactly how much life you're working with. Another important setup is your Blight Totem support, which consists of Spell Totem, Vol Blight, Void Manipulation, and multiple totems. The Multiple Totems support gem is a new addition in 3.5, and it allows you to quickly build up stacks of Blight that would ordinarily take far longer to apply. Lastly, we have the all-important Curse setup. This consists of Temporal Chains, Enfeeble, Enlighten, Despair, Blasphemy, and Vol Righteous Fire. Another aura you'll be running is Aspect of the Spider, but that doesn't need to be socketed anywhere. Just crafted onto any rare piece of gear as a suffix. And now, for the most exciting part, gearing. One of the many beauties of the Queen of Chaos is she can be built on almost any budget. So if you're starting out, you might find it helpful to go about the build a little differently. First of all, you'll want to go Chaos Inoculation instead of Pain Attunement, as well as pick up Vile Bastion instead of Withering Presence. This will allow you to feel tankier and reach higher energy shield totals with less investment. Next, here are some pieces of gear you'll want to target. Breath of the Council as your main hand weapon is a relatively cheap option to increase your chaos damage, area of effect, and skill effect duration. Heretic's Veil will help with mana reservation and provide a free level 22 Blasphemy for all your important curse auras. Steppen Eared is a cheap pair of boots that can give you a solid amount of energy shield. A Chaos Impresence grants increased damage over time and a free Despair aura so you don't have to rely on reserving too much mana. A pair of Energy from Within jewels, when socketed appropriately, will significantly increase your maximum energy shield total. The rest of your gear should be rare, and you should focus on capping your resistances as well as getting as much energy shield as possible. This is especially true for your body armor, as that slot has by far the highest potential for energy shield gains. Once you've accumulated a little more currency, it's time to look towards min-maxing your very own Queen of Chaos. To do this, you'll need the following pieces of gear. A crafted staff with chaos damage over time multiplier, increased levels of socketed gems, increased chaos damage, increased cast speed, increased skill effect duration for chaos skills, and a chance to gain Arcane Surge on kill. There are other options for what crafts to use on your endgame staff, but these are the ones used by Ichigo's level 100 finalized version of the build. A Chevron's Wrappings is a required staple of any low-life build, and this one is no different. Because of your Tri-Curse, Enlighten, and Blasphemy setup, this needs to be at least 5-linked. Your Helm should be a rare with as much energy shield as possible, along with a Nearby Enemies Have Negative Chaos Resistance mod. This can be obtained with Aberrant and Dense Fossil crafting. Your gloves should also be rare, ideally on the fingerless silk base, and should have as much energy shield and resistances as possible. As you can see here, Ichigo chose to craft his Aspect of the Spider on this piece of gear as well. Your boots are more of the same, so you should focus on energy shield and resistances. You may also want to prioritize a movement speed mod, as this build does not have a lot of built-in mobility. A rare belt with mods like energy shield, resistances, increased chaos, and some much needed strength. Ichigo has also chosen to craft the new Situational Energy Shield Regen mod, which is an excellent choice to help with endgame bossing sustain. Mark of the Shaper provides a massive boost in spell damage and a nice chunk of energy shield. Just make sure your other ring is an Elder item. Your other ring should be rare and Elder, and is best utilized as a slot almost entirely focused on capping your resists. Your amulet slot is another staple of low-life builds, a presence of Chayula. This amulet provides a large amount of energy shield, stun immunity, and nearly caps your chaos resistance when paired with Withering Presence. Your flask slots are flexible depending on personal preference, but Ichigo recommends a sulfur, basalt, quicksilver, and quartz, all with the alchemist's prefix. Additionally, it's crucial to get bleed, freeze, ignite, and curse immunity across your various flasks. Lastly, a Witchfire brew will blind nearby enemies and grant some increased damage over time. And that about does it! In the description below, you'll find links to Ichigo's forum guide, the Path of Building Pastebin, and of course, my personal YouTube channel. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave a comment, and Ichigo will get back to you as soon as he can. This has been Nathan, and I hope you enjoyed this guide for Lahkesis, the Queen of Chaos.